Okay, today we are going to be talking about composition and we're going to be talking about making a historical visual record in a way of a collage over what you've been experiencing over the last 9 months of lockdown. So, without being any slower, I am going to share my screen, talk a little bit about composition. What is composition? Composition is the way that your subject matter fits within the shape of the space that you have available to show it. Most times it's a rectangle, maybe side to side, it may be vertical, depends how you decide to turn it. Sometimes it's square, sometimes it's even circle, and sometimes, in very rare occasions, you shape your surface into something that is non-normal, non-geometric. Maybe it's free-formed out of a piece of wood. When we did the figure cutouts a couple years ago, you would have seen something like that. All right. Whatever the case may be, composition is how your subject matter fits within the space given. Now, the ancient artists, those old guys from long ago, had a rule called the golden ratio. Essentially, what it was is you broke down your paper into a perfect square, which you see right here, and then you came and curved from the upper right to the lower left, and then you broke what was left over into a square, and you continued that pathway, lower right to upper left. You cut that into the next smaller square and the next smaller square, and you would get essentially a spiral or a nautilus. And this area would be one of the prominent areas that you could put your subject matter. Because generally, if you put something in the middle of a piece of paper, it becomes a target, which works fine for portraiture. But as far as seeing an entire picture, it misleads the viewer to look only in the center if you put all your subject matter in the center. So you want to spread it out. You want the eye to flow through there. Now, this is but one area the golden ratio could fall on. If you flip the golden ratio or turned it upside down, you would realize you have one, two, three, four possible areas that your main subject could sit on to become interesting or to draw the eye through the image. Now, this seems like a lot of effort. And you know what? It's an ungodly amount of effort. And it's really not, it's usable, but it's not particularly easily usable. So if you look here and go back to my last one, if you flip these, where they land is pretty much on where this tic tac toe board intersects. And if you've had photography, you've learned about the rule of thirds and how a third divide a space into three sections, another space, and then wherever these hit, as you see here, are good areas to put your subject matter. All right. As we look at this picture, very simple picture of a black silhouette with a girl in a background. The girl is covering two of the spots at least in this composition, and this big black shape is pulling your eye through to meet the sea, which pulls it back up to meet the sky. If the girl was over here, your eyes would only go here, and then you would feel some resistance as you started to pull to the left. So the eye is supposed to move through the object. The more points you can hit within there or come close to, the better the flow for your image. All right. Even down here in an anime shot, my neighbor Totoro, the big forest spirit, is covering up two of the cross areas. The little girl and her sister are covering up the other. It's not a bad idea to leave one empty because if you fill all four, it does start to feel a little more like a target composition, right? Because here, 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 and here, that's the middle. So you want to leave one open for breathing, for negative space. So you have something to move through. In this case, this is a wonderful one of the Monkey King, because Monkey King's taking up this spot, and then his bow staff and his chains play around this spot. So your eye is actually drawn by the line of the bow staff and by the flow of the chains. All right, you guys have some decent paper at home, because I actually gave you guys some decent paper. I dropped it off at your house. You're welcome. You're welcome. That paper, I believe, is 20 by 24, possibly 18 by 24. It's been a while. So you will eventually take a good sheet of paper that's 18 or 20 and fold it in half long ways like a hot dog. All right. You will also take and maybe put a 1 inch or a 1/2 inch border all the way around that folded area. To create your outline. All right. Now what I'm doing today is just a pre-sketch. So I am hoping that you will follow my lead and do a pre-sketch as well, because it helps if you know where stuff's going to go. And pre-sketches, as we have stated in the past, do not have to be beautiful or flawless. They are, by definition, the word sketch, a plan. And I am going to assert my rule of thirds, or a loose golden ratio, by tic-tac-toeing out that paper. All right. Now, in this case, I'm going to put my figure here, and I'm going to make this autobiographical because it is about my experience in the last 9 months. All right. I might get a little Jesus-y on here, because I don't particularly feel martyred, but I do feel as though there is some low-grade suffering, like a faint headache in the back of my soul. Oh, if I only had a soul. All right. So my main clothes have been the same 2 t-shirts, because, well, I get stuck in the basement because my wife's a COVID nurse. So I have to live downstairs. We do things together, but until this pandemic leaves, we are separated for health reasons. And the reason I go through the same shirts is I'm right next to the washer and dryer, so I might as well be doing the laundry if I'm standing here. All right, I drink an ungodly amount of coffee. All right. So here's my main figure is taking up that kind of space. Now, over here, I'm going to draw my drawing table. And the thing is, in a collage, your space rules kind of go out the window whenever you want them to. I like to try to adhere to them as much as possible, but it's not always possible. So I'm going to take and show my drawing table at home, my big long drawing table. And eventually I would do some sort of small drawing here that would show what I was working on over the course of this time period, or at least maybe one of the pieces, because that's part of my life. Maybe your life, you didn't do that. Maybe your one of the things you're going to put in there is the video games you've conquered. I have drawn a lot of my characters over and over, so I might actually use part of the space rules and start to fill in my characters down here. Maybe make it a little bit of a crowd. All right. And by having that line of characters here, it'll help pull the eye. I could even do this. I could get fun with it and make one of my characters leaving the paper and looking over the edge of the desk. Like this is all really part of their existence, right? Why not have fun with this if you're going to draw it? Now, you don't have to put in all these characters. Hey, maybe you watch nothing but cartoons. So maybe your drawing is going to have a ton of recognizable cartoon characters in there. Whereas mine is just going to have, you know, the characters that I drew for my book series. All right. Starbucks. It's funny. I drink coffee from home. I drink iced tea from Starbucks. So maybe I'll put in a giant iced tea container just so I can get the ice cubes in there and make it entertaining. All right. I did a ton of cooking over this time period. I'm going to use a little bit of my space compression. All right. Also, not helping my health. I learned how to make chili rellenos and chorizo biscuits and gravy. Not the healthiest things for you, but darn are they tasty. Right. Maybe I have other assorted adult beverages behind me. And there's the hood for my stove. Am I going to keep up with the kitchen idea? Maybe. Now, I'm not putting a ton of detail in here, but I am getting this fairly nicely fleshed out. The other thing, I bought the guitar of my dreams over the pandemic. It's the one I was going to get myself when I retired. But I figured I might die over the pandemic. And, I don't want to be one of those spirits tied to the earth. Seems pretty boring. Well, sitting up in heaven with a harp seems a little tedious and odd as well. So I'll put in a guitar there. I'll put in a bass here. Maybe I'll have more guitars in the background, getting smaller because that's part of my thing. I'm not really sure how to show writing. That's something else we did. I built an archery thing in the backyard. I could have added that to part of this composition. So I basically just kind of laid out this whole area of a collage with things that I would think about putting in mind. Now, do each one of these things need a little bit of research? Yeah, because I put bodies in here. I'm not sure which characters I put. Probably my favorite ones. I'm not sure what image I would use here, but I could look through my drawings, saw what I did over the summer. So I've got coffee, I got food, I got iced tea, I got guitars. I could have put my bed. I'm sleeping in the basement. I could have put the movies I've watched or the TV shows. Where I hung out, which was basically we walked the dogs a ton at forest preserves. I'm not sure there's a forest preserve I haven't been at in the 40-mile radius at this point. So I'm going to have you guys do a collage that explains what your existence has been during this tumultuous time. Or maybe I'll put family members here. Maybe I'll put my kids or my wife and have a combination of all those things around me. We got a new puppy. That could have been something I put in there. I could put my other two dogs in there as well. So that's basically it. Okay, so like in this one, I put in a little bit different. I started doing some shades on there. Your shades and your pre-sketch can be sloppy. They're just there to kind of give you a sense of where you want to put those shadows. All right. So that's where we're at with that one. Boom, boom. Play around with this pre-sketch over Christmas break so that when we come back in the spring, we can come running hard and happy. That's it. Have a good holiday. I will see you guys later. Stay out of trouble. Can't stay out of trouble. Don't get caught.